If you're over 60 and not having sex anymore, it's not just your sex life that's on pause. Your whole body can feel the difference. Sexual activity isn't only about pleasure or intimacy. It actually plays a critical role in keeping your mind sharp, your mood stable, and your body working well. When sexual activity slows down or stops, especially for long periods, many seniors start noticing subtle but serious changes in their health. Without regular sexual activity, whether with a partner or solo, blood flow decreases, hormone levels drop, and even the immune system can take a hit. For men, this might show up as lower testosterone, fatigue, or more difficulty getting or keeping an erection. For women, it can mean vaginal dryness, thinning tissues, and increased discomfort, which often discourages them from returning to sex, creating a cycle that's hard to break. I've had patients in their 70s tell me they suddenly felt old overnight. They weren't sick, but they lost that spark. Often, they had quietly given up on their sex lives, thinking it was just part of aging. But when we talked, it became clear that the lack of intimacy, touch, and physical closeness had started affecting their confidence, their sleep, and even their memory. This isn't about pressuring anyone to do something they don't want to. It's about understanding that sexual health is part of total health, even in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Just like staying physically active, eating well, or keeping your mind engaged. Sex is another way your body and brain stay connected, vibrant, and alive. Going without sex often means going without touch, and that's one of the quietest, most overlooked causes of emotional decline in older adults. Human touch is powerful. It calms the nervous system, lowers stress hormones, and boosts oxytocin, the bonding hormone that helps you feel safe and connected. When sex disappears, so does this vital form of contact, and many older adults begin to feel isolated without even realizing why. I've seen this in many of my patients. A kind, healthy 68-year-old man who lived alone and hadn't had a romantic or sexual connection in over a decade. He didn't complain about being sad, but he described feeling numb, unmotivated, like life was just a series of days passing by. We talked about the role of touch and intimacy, and he realized how long it had been since anyone had even held his hand. He began seeing a companion regularly, not necessarily for sex, but for closeness, and his mood and energy lifted within weeks. When older adults stop experiencing intimacy, it's not just about missing pleasure. The body responds to that absence like it would to chronic stress. Mood can slip, sleep becomes fragmented, and depression may creep in quietly. For women, especially those who are widowed or divorced, this can happen even faster, since their social networks may shrink more rapidly. Touch, especially intimate touch, is one of the oldest forms of emotional medicine we have. Even something as simple as cuddling, kissing, or mutual massage can go a long way in helping maintain emotional balance. Sex is not the only path to emotional connection, but it's one of the most effective and natural ways to release the chemicals your body craves to stay mentally well. Sexual activity in later life doesn't just improve mood, it's been shown to help keep the brain sharp. Engaging in sexual intimacy stimulates regions of the brain related to memory, decision-making, and even verbal fluency. For older adults, this can mean better recall, improved focus, and a longer-lasting sense of mental clarity. There was a study out of the UK that looked at adults over 50 and found that those who were sexually active performed better on cognitive tests, particularly in memory and language. That's not a coincidence. Sex increases blood flow to the brain, encourages the release of dopamine and other neurotransmitters, and reduces stress, all of which help the mind stay alert and flexible. A woman I used to see in her early 70s was worried about senior moments, forgetting words, misplacing things, losing her train of thought. She was still healthy and active, but she hadn't had sex since her husband passed away several years before. After building trust, we talked openly about how intimacy might play a role. Eventually, she began a new relationship and told me, with a smile, that her mind felt clearer and she was thinking better than she had in years. Even for those without a partner, regular solo sexual activity, including masturbation, can trigger similar cognitive benefits. It stimulates the brain, encourages deep breathing and relaxation, and helps regulate sleep, which is vital for memory. You don't need to be sexually active every day to keep your brain sharp, but the absence of sexual expression over long periods may accelerate mental dullness. Think of sexual activity like exercise for your brain, something that helps keep the lights on upstairs, even as the years go by. When sexual activity stops, certain parts of the body start to weaken, not because of age, but because they're simply not being used. Just like muscles shrink when you stop exercising, the sexual organs and pelvic floor can lose strength and sensitivity when left inactive for too long. In men, lack of regular erections, whether from intercourse or masturbation, can lead to reduced blood flow to the penis over time. This can make it harder to get or maintain erections in the future, not because of a disease, but because the tissue is literally getting less oxygen and less stimulation. I've had older male patients tell me they stopped trying after one or two bad experiences, only to find that months later, things got even worse. What they didn't realize is that the body needs gentle, regular reminders to keep things working. In women, vaginal tissue can become thinner, drier, and less elastic without regular sexual stimulation. This isn't just about intercourse. Even gentle touch, arousal, or pelvic floor exercises can help maintain tissue health. One of my patients in her late 60s came in worried about pain during intimacy. She hadn't been sexually active for several years and thought maybe she was just too old. But with some guidance, including vaginal moisturizers, hormone cream, and regular self-touch, she was able to enjoy pain-free intimacy again. Her confidence came back too, even the muscles of the pelvic floor, which help control urination and support your internal organs, benefit from regular sexual activity. When these muscles weaken, it can lead to incontinence, lower back pain, or even prolapse. But when they stay active, they support not just sexual function, but your entire core stability. Sexual activity isn't about keeping up with your younger self. It's about giving your body what it needs to stay strong, supple, and responsive, even as the calendar moves forward. One of the less obvious effects of not having sex in older age is the gradual shift in your hormones, and how that can quietly influence everything from your sleep to your appetite to your sense of vitality. A body is still capable of producing key hormones like testosterone, estrogen, oxytocin, and dopamine well into the senior years. But when sexual activity stops, those systems begin to slow down. In men, low testosterone can lead to fatigue, mood swings, weight gain, and a drop in libido. It's a quiet change that often goes unnoticed until it starts interfering with daily life. I remember one patient, 72 years old, who came in complaining about low energy and frequent napping. He thought it was just part of getting older. But when we checked his hormone levels, his testosterone was well below normal. With some lifestyle changes and a return to regular intimacy with his wife, including physical touch and sexual activity, his levels improved naturally. His energy came back, and so did his sense of drive. For women, estrogen plays a big role in maintaining vaginal health, mood, and sleep quality. Without sexual stimulation, estrogen levels tend to fall more sharply, which can make hot flashes worse, dry out tissues, and even contribute to anxiety or insomnia. One woman I worked with in her late 60s had been having trouble sleeping and described feeling invisible. When she slowly reintroduced solo touch and later started dating again, her body responded with better sleep and a greater sense of joy, something she thought she'd left behind years earlier. Sexual activity acts like a gentle switch, reminding your endocrine system to keep doing its job. Even small, simple acts, a passionate kiss, self-pleasure, or a sensual massage can stimulate hormonal activity. This isn't about chasing youth or fixing something broken. It's about letting your body stay in rhythm, producing the hormones it's capable of, so you feel more like yourself. Sex might not seem like heart exercise, but it absolutely counts as a form of physical activity, and it has some specific heart protective benefits that older adults often don't realize. When you stop having sex entirely, you miss out on the cardiovascular boost that regular intimacy can provide. During sexual arousal and orgasm, your heart rate increases, blood vessels dilate, and your body enters a state of physical excitement, similar to mild to moderate exercise. This kind of natural workout improves circulation, helps regulate blood pressure, and encourages better oxygen delivery to your organs. For seniors, even small movements that get the blood flowing, like gentle foreplay or partner touch, contribute to better vascular health. Once had a patient in his 60s who was recovering from a heart scare. He was terrified to be intimate again, fearing it would put too much strain on his heart. But after talking with his cardiologist and easing back into very slow, affectionate physical contact, he found his confidence and his energy returned. Over time, sex became part of his cardiac rehab, and his blood pressure readings actually improved. For women, sexual activity also supports heart health by lowering cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. High cortisol can contribute to inflammation, which plays a major role in heart disease. Regular sexual activity reduces this hormone, leading to better sleep and lower anxiety, both of which benefit the heart. This doesn't mean you have to engage in intense or frequent sex to protect your heart. Even gentle arousal, closeness, and orgasm, whether with a partner or by yourself, can produce heart-healthy effects. If sex has been missing from your life, think of it not just as a form of pleasure, but as a part of your health routine. It's a natural, enjoyable way to keep your cardiovascular system in motion. When sex fades out of a long-term relationship, emotional distance often follows, not immediately, but slowly and quietly over time. Many couples in their 60s and 70s still love each other deeply, but the absence of physical intimacy can start to create misunderstandings, resentment, or feelings of rejection. What begins as a pause for health reasons or stress can gradually turn into months or even years without closeness. And this affects both partners more than they realize. I once worked with a couple in their early 70s who had not been intimate in nearly 5 years. They were kind to each other, respectful, but there was a wall between them. They both assumed the other had lost interest or was no longer attracted, but neither wanted to say it out loud. When we talked openly in the clinic, it turned out they both missed sex, but had been too embarrassed to bring it up. With just a few small steps, including more time alone together, hand-holding, and quiet touch, their connection began to return. Physical intimacy is not just about sex itself. It's a language between partners. It communicates care, desire, comfort, and trust. When that part of the relationship is neglected, even for understandable reasons, couples often start to feel more like roommates than partners. That can lead to increased arguments, emotional withdrawal, or silent sadness that neither person knows how to fix. On the other hand, when couples maintain even a small level of sexual connection, whether it's a monthly intimate night or regular non-sexual touch like cuddling and kissing, it keeps the emotional bond strong. It reminds each person that they're still wanted, still valued, still seen. If sex has disappeared in your relationship, that doesn't mean it's over. but it may be a sign to talk honestly, without shame or blame. Even the smallest gestures of affection can open the door again. When older adults stop having sex, they often stop talking about it too, and that silence can slowly turn into shame. It's easy to start believing that sexual desire or expression doesn't belong in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. But the truth is, sexual identity doesn't disappear with age. It changes, yes, but it remains a deep part of who you are. I've heard patients say things like, "I guess I'm not a sexual person anymore," or "that part of my life is behind me." These aren't medical facts, they're quiet conclusions formed from years of being told that sex is only for the young. But the body doesn't agree. Even if hormones shift, and even if you've been out of practice, the capacity for intimacy, arousal, and pleasure remains. And when that part of yourself is denied or ignored, it can create a lingering sense of incompleteness. One widower I worked with had not been intimate since his wife passed 8 years earlier. He told me he felt guilty even thinking about sex. But in truth, he was lonely, not just for companionship, but for the feeling of being touched, noticed, and desired. It took time, but when he began to explore intimacy again through a new relationship, he said something I never forgot. "Feel like myself again." Losing your connection to your sexual self isn't about losing function. It's about losing a part of your identity. And that loss can quietly affect self-esteem, motivation, and even how you view your place in the world. You don't need to be sexually active all the time to preserve that identity. But staying connected to your body through touch, movement, fantasy, or intimacy keeps that part of you alive. It reminds you that you're still whole, still human, still worthy of desire and pleasure, no matter your age. Many older adults are surprised to learn that sexual activity isn't just good for mood or relationships. It can also strengthen the immune system and help the body fight off illness. When you stop having sex for extended periods, your natural defenses may become a little less responsive, especially if other parts of your lifestyle, like movement, diet, and sleep, are also slowing down. Regular sexual activity has been shown to raise levels of immunoglobulin A, or IgA, an important antibody that helps the body defend against viruses and bacteria. Even moderate sexual frequency, such as once a week, has been linked to stronger immune responses. And because sexual arousal reduces stress hormones, it lowers overall inflammation in the body, which is a key factor in everything from heart disease to arthritis to cognitive decline. I recall one patient, a very health-conscious 69-year-old woman who followed a perfect diet and walked every day, but kept getting colds and fatigue. When we talked, it became clear she had cut out intimacy entirely after her divorce, thinking it was just one less thing to worry about. But over time, she noticed she felt more tired and less resilient. After rebuilding a trusting relationship with a new partner, slowly, gently, she noticed not only better energy, but fewer sick days. Her body, it seemed, had been craving more than just vitamins. This isn't to say that sex is a cure-all. But for many older adults, a healthy sex life works like a natural anti-inflammatory. It helps balance hormones, reduces stress chemicals, and supports restful sleep, all of which are essential for a strong immune system. Your body knows how to protect you. Staying sexually connected, even in small, meaningful ways, helps. That system stays strong, responsive, and active well into your later years. Sex doesn't stop mattering just because you've crossed a certain birthday. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, your need for connection, pleasure, and intimacy remains. When sex disappears completely, it can slowly affect your physical health, your emotional balance, your relationships, and even your sense of self. But the good news is, it's never too late to reconnect with that part of your life. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to perform or be perfect. You just have to stay open to your body, to your emotions, and to the idea that intimacy is still a vital part of living fully. Whether with a partner or through solo exploration, sexual activity is a natural, healthy, and deeply human experience, and one that you absolutely deserve to keep. If anything in this video spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Type 1 in the comments if you've already applied or plan to apply what we've talked about today. Type 0 if you haven't yet. I read and personally respond to each one. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more practical advice tailored to your life. Your needs and your stage of vitality are not too old. You are not past your time. You are alive, you are worthy, and your story, including your intimacy, still matters.